Aloha, welcome back to the Anxiety Coaches Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Gina Ryan, and I'm so happy to be with you again today as we consider the many ways to bring your mind and body back to its natural peace and calm. Aloha, everybody. Today I am thrilled to welcome a guest, Dr. Matthew Letterman, a board-certified internal medicine physician whose passion for helping people achieve lasting health and happiness has shaped an extraordinary career. From appearing in the groundbreaking documentary Forks Over Knives to co-authoring many, many books, including the New York Times bestseller, Wellness to Wonderful. Dr. Letterman blends medical science, psychology, spirituality, and life wisdom to guide others toward vibrant well-being. A certified nonviolent communication trainer and advocate for trauma-informed care, Dr. Letterman has integrated polyvagal theory and somatic awareness into his work, offering holistic solutions for mind, body, and interpersonal healing. As a former vice president of medical affairs at Whole Foods Market, he spearheaded innovative wellness initiatives before co-founding We Heal and We Be with his partner of 18 years, delivering tools that empower individuals and families to lead joyful, fulfilling lives. Recognized by luminaries like Dr. Dean Ornish as a doctor of the future, Dr. Lederman continues to inspire as a lecturer, corporate advisor, and adjunct medical professor. He joins us today sharing his mission to heal the world. Welcome to the show, Dr. Matt Letterman. Thank you for being here, Matt.
Thank you for having me. A pleasure.
So, like I said, when we were talking off camera, you have so many things that I have spent my life reading about, working with professionals on, all the way to the nonviolent communication, which I think is so helpful. So I'm hoping we can maybe dive into a few of those things here. But first, I was wondering if you could share a bit about your journey into holistic medicine and like what inspired you to integrate like NVC and somatic awareness into your practice. I'm very curious about that.
My entire career has been focused on healing and helping people heal and searching for what would allow that to happen, starting with myself. So everything that I've done to support patients, I first tested out on myself, whether it was the diet, the lifestyle, all the way up to the nonviolent communication. And there was always a reason why I needed to add more tools to the toolbox because what I had was great, but we still had things that we needed to address that weren't fully addressed. So, for example, diet is so important, but it's not just the food. There's other things that are important to bring in if we're trying to fully heal and optimize health and well-being. So that's the journey of my career, is sort of tracking the development and integration of these additional tools that have created an opportunity for people to really be fully supported.
Yes, beautiful. And I love that it started with you. That's like the best. I'm sure when you're working with people, they can really feel that with you. Like, he gets me. He gets me. Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, that's what I found. We just started writing for Substack, my wife, and it's under Connection Docs. And we created this term called connection medicine. And it's around the benefit of connection and the impact on your health, and not just on your mental health and emotional well-being, but actually on your physical health.
Yeah.
And what I found was that it's all important. You can't just do the diet and expect everything to fall in place. You can't just do the connection and expect everybody to fall in place. You got to bring all these different pieces. It's this process. And in me, I was having, for example, problems with chronic pain. I was having problems with, we can talk about it when you're ready, but around anxiety and how I think about anxiety. It's a little bit of a different paradigm that I find, not that it's right or wrong, but I find it more helpful and conducive to healing. All of that, what I'm saying is, bringing that in as part of the way that we can support patients is so valuable.
Absolutely. And there's absolutely no reason for us to dance around it any further. Let's hear what you have to say about anxiety and how you look at it. There are so many different angles that people are talking about out there in the world, especially online or YouTube. You can start looking and finding all kinds of things. I would love for you to share your view.
Well, the reason I brought up the connection docs, the Substack, is because we start off, and most of the articles about how we're applying it. We're not only a teacher, we're a student. And I think that the best teachers are always students as well.
Mm.
So we're dealing with anxiety all the time. And I think if there's people that think of anxiety, and I want to be careful, I want to preface that I don't want to offend anybody. And this is my sort of way I think about it. I don't think there's one right or wrong way. So I find it most helpful for me and my clients to heal when I think about it this way. So the way I think about anxiety is it's a feeling. I don't like to call feelings or think of them as a disease or a disability or anything. So I've heard people say, I have anxiety, like I have diabetes, or I was diagnosed with anxiety disorder, like there's something wrong with my anxiety. I think of all feelings as wonderful indicators that sometimes are quite unpleasant, but without them, we would die. And anxiety is one of those, that without anxiety, we could get into a lot of trouble. The problem for when I hear people talk about they have anxiety, what I hear them saying is that they're feeling anxiety more often than they would like, or more often than they think is health promoting, or it's so unpleasant they don't know what to do, or they don't know how to deal with it.
Or it's interfering with their life at this point. It's
Right. In
not.
some way, it's
Yes.
interfering. Now, sometimes anxiety interferes with your life and it's actually contributing.
Yes.
And other times it interferes with your life and there's nothing beneficial about that interference. It's actually harmful. So I think that's, to me, I approach every client differently around that anxiety. And I say, I want to learn more. My focus is not, how do I get rid of it? My focus is trying to understand and really see what it's trying to do, how it's trying to help you, how it's trying to get your attention. And then what can we do to give it the attention it wants? And then sort of come out and approach things a little bit differently to make those needs met. So when I think of feelings, I think of feelings as something that, and this is a nonviolent communication philosophy, is that feelings come and go by the second.
Yes.
And sometimes they can keep repeating, but they are trying to tell you that you have needs that are either being met or not met. So if I feel anxiety, there's needs of mine in the moment or needs of mine that I'm thinking about in the future that are not going to be met. And when my needs are at risk of not being met, my body starts to see that as a threat or a potential threat and gives me a feeling to take action to try and meet those needs better. So if I'm feeling anxiety, it's, for example, let's use fear. That's a pretty simple one. If I go up and I stand on the edge of a mountain and I start getting close to the edge, I'm going to start feeling fear. That fear is going to tell me to take action. And I'm going to step back from the edge of the mountain, and my fear is going to decrease until I meet my need for safety fully. When I meet my need for safety fully, I no longer feel fear in that moment.
Absolutely.
So it's a warning. It's letting me know that there's a need that's not being met. I take action and then I meet the need. When I feel hunger, I have a need for food. If I feel hungry, the more I don't meet the need, the bigger the hunger gets, the bigger the feeling gets. So if I go a couple days without eating, hunger is going to be through the roof.
Yeah.
So if I go for days without dealing with the need that anxiety is trying to get my attention to, the anxiety gets more and more intense and more frequent, almost to the point that I think it's constant. And then those people can get diagnosed with an anxiety disorder when in fact I think there's needs that aren't being met and we just haven't identified what they are. So I'm going to stop there, and I just want to get your reaction to what I'm saying, because I don't want to simplify it, overly simplify it. There's complexity to it, but I'm trying to just help. How's that landing for you?
Yeah, no, that's right on. Like, it really resonates with me, because what I always try to frame everything is I'm dealing with people who have chronic stress / anxiety / panic, because it's people that have gone over they have not addressed their needs or
Right.
the problems in their lives. Often it comes down to a very glaring problem that cannot be looked at the moment. And I'm glad you deal with people so individually, because everybody, you have to come to that with different people in different ways. But I want to be sure that everyone hears that, yes, anxiety is a normal part of our feelings. And I kind of look at it as a messenger, like, what can I look at? Like we move away from danger, we move toward comfort. So, where is it in my life that I'm feeling danger? Because that's what people are feeling that I deal with are feeling inside. They don't feel safe. There's no safety. They've lost a place to feel safe. And so, what we work with here, and I'd love for you to address this, is this will bring in polyvagal, but getting the nervous system back on keel so that it can actually respond. Some people could get nervous on the edge of a cliff or anxious and step back, and they don't go back into that parasympathetic side of their nervous system all day. So that's where we start to look at lifestyle changes and tools that we can use to try to bring our nervous system back online again so that it's working as it is meant to. And I'll stop there so that you could address some of that.
Yeah, I am on the same exact page there, where if we are perceiving our environment as dangerous, and our environment consists of what's actually in front of us, our thoughts, and a lot of it is also there's some level of conditioning from our history.
Mm.
And you put all that together, and we have to shift that to start sending messages of safety. But that can't come from our head. A lot of people, I'll talk to them at first and they'll say, I don't feel unsafe. I know I'm safe right now. And I'll say, that's great. But there's a part of your body that doesn't know that.
Mm.
It's the part of your body. You ever drive a car and for 15 minutes you were just daydreaming, and all of a sudden you get somewhere, you're like, I don't even know how I got there. But you didn't wreck the car. It's the part of your body that's driving the car during that time that doesn't know you're safe.
Mm.
It's that subconscious. And how do we communicate with that part? It's not through thinking conscious, it's not that way. It doesn't work that way. So I think of messages of safety like what we see, how we think, what we're feeling, how we're working, our general sense of bigger needs like meaning and purpose, and why are we getting up in the morning, and our connections with our friends and our community, and what part of my authenticity is being suppressed, because everything that we're suppressing, your body interprets that as it must be dangerous to share.
Mm.
So if there's suppression happening, and oftentimes there's repression, meaning that we don't even have an awareness of it,
Yeah.
all of that is perpetuating these signals of danger to your body. We have to address that. And that takes time and perseverance. We need people to stick with that. But if we can start addressing that, I think of it like nutrients in food.
Mm.
You want to eat, you can't just eat a salad one day and all of a sudden you're healthy. You got to eat those nutrients day in and day out, over and over again, and over a period of months. From getting these nutrients, your body's going to shift towards a much healthier phenotype. It's going to be much healthier. And that's what we need to do with message of safety. We can't just send them once and think all of a sudden our body is going to feel safe now. Over months of doing these safety nutrients, I'm using air quotes, that you're feeding your body throughout the day, then eventually we get there. And that's the question. How do we help our body feel safe? And that's learning how to be with these feelings, learning how to let your body communicate with you and how to talk with your body, which is a very different experience than the talking that goes on in our heads.
Yeah.
And if we can help people learn how to communicate with their body and follow that and spend time in that place, it's a different language, but all of a sudden their body is going to start feeling safe again. A lot of people I work with anxiety, they have not been communicating with their bodies. And it sounds weird. When I first learned
Yeah.
about hearing someone say, talk to your body, I'm like, what does that even mean? People would say things like, be with your feelings. I'm like, I'm ready to be with my feelings, but I don't know what to do. It was very confusing for me. And then eventually I learned that's where it's helpful to work with somebody who knows how to support that process. And I'll tell people, this is going to feel weird. The part of your body, the head that has, that you talk to in your head, the voice in your head, it's going to judge this. It's going to say this is weird. It's going to say this isn't working. It's going to say this is scary. We have to have compassion for that voice, but not let it drive the bus.
That's right. It can come along, but it can't hold the steering wheel, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I like the idea of the safety nutrients. I love that term. And so I wonder if you could share with us what that means, what some ideas of that might be, or examples.
I could use myself. All of us feel anxiety, and some days I feel it more, other days I feel it less. And one of the things I'm working on is I have to find my play. We have 9 pillars in our book, Wellness to Wonderful, one of them about optimizing health and well-being. Play is one of them. That's probably my biggest because I have this industrious pattern, chronic reactivity pattern where I want to get things done and I want to be efficient and I want to accomplish and I want to hit these goals. But doing that can also signal danger to the body if that's you're pushing yourself and what are you going to do next and you got to accomplish this and if there's no accomplishment don't waste your time and right, so that part of my body was productive, be productive all the time, and in fact how it even defines the word productive is can cause some problems. So I'm working on the play, for example. So I've identified an opportunity for me, which is how do I bring those moments of content-free time where there's nothing to accomplish, there's no goal, it's just for the joy in the moment. So that, for example, is going to feed my body some major safety nutrients, if you will. And I might go, for example, I just was talking to a friend, actually Chef AJ, and she was telling me how much she loves improv. And I've always been scared to do improv, even though I would love to do it. I love that whole. And she was saying, you got, just do it. She goes, Matt, people, they're willing to get chemotherapy and they're willing to get surgery and they're willing to get radiation, but they're so scared to get up in front of an audience and do improv. And I said, you know what? I said, that's an interesting way to look at it. I said, I'm not going to be. So I actually went to an improv show and I just signed up for an improv class. And I noticed my body's feeling scared, but there was something exciting too, where I'm doing something that there's no goal other than to be there in the moment and to enjoy that. That's personal for me. That happens to be relevant right now. But then there's other things. I might do meditation and I have a chair that I'll sit in. I could sit outside where I'm just breathing and I'm not on my phone. And I make sure I have a lot of device free time. Every time you're checking your phone, I'll make sure is there soothing touch that is helping to turn on the giving that vagus a little stimulation. Right? There's how my sounds and what sounds am I listening to? What type of music am I listening to? What type of interaction? What am I looking at? What type of visual cues? How am I scheduling my day? Am I scheduling back to back to back without breaks? What am I thinking about? Oh, if I don't get this done today, and am I making a to-do list too long? Am I uncomfortable when I have an hour of free time and saying, this is a waste, I could be more productive? So I'm constantly looking at what are my ways that I signal danger or this intensity. Because for me, that's what's signaling danger is that intensity, that industrious pattern. For other people, it's different. And that's what I have to identify when I work with people. What is their pattern? What is their messages of danger? Where's that coming from?
So, can you explain to listeners how that industriousness or that, because I kind of have that kind of drive thing too, like, oh my gosh, I could get, you work for yourself. There's always a million things to do. Unless you take time off, nobody's going to give you time off. So, can you explain how it is that when we get in that mode of, I could do more, I could do more, I should do more, how that signals to our body that there's a problem or danger? Because I can feel it when I do that. I can feel it in my body like, okay, I can feel like maybe my heart rate going up, or maybe I'm breathing more shallow than usual. What is it about that that makes our body think that there's something wrong?
Well, there's a tension usually that people
Mm.
feel internally, and that's your autonomic nervous system activating, or at least that's contributing to it. There's hormones and shifts in blood flow and all sorts of different things that happen. But are you asking just sort of what's the process or what's going on, or what? Tell me a
Yeah,
little
or
more about.
because some people might be going like, well, I like being driven and I like getting things done. And they may also, when they shut off or try to shut off, can't. Like because
Yes.
then their mind is spinning. So how can we help them see how those two are related? Maybe the ruminating thoughts with the fact that they didn't
Mhm.
take a break for the last 12 hours. Yeah.
So a lot of that is conditioning. So, and it's meeting needs. And this is where I think internal family systems is really helpful and the parts work to be able to identify the part that has convinced you that you like working this way. And it's uncomfortable to
Mhm.
sit and have nothing to do.
Mhm.
I don't argue with you. I believe that there's a part of them that's very uncomfortable when they sit. There's some people that you tell them to meditate and they think that they're going to crawl out of their skin if they try to do.
Yeah.
It's just so uncomfortable. It's because doing nothing, there could be some, I don't want to overly simplify it. Some people, there's trauma histories where if you don't stay mobilized, you're going to immobilize and shut down. And it makes sense to want to stay mobilized. That's the way that they prevent shutdown is keep
Yeah.
moving, keep moving,
Yeah.
keep moving. So for them, we want to deal with some of the trauma and what they've been through so that we can learn that we can calm and turn off the sympathetics, the mobilization, and we don't have to go into shutdown. But
Yeah.
there's other people that they believe that they like it, but I tell them to differentiate between joy and relief.
Mhm.
Joy is when it actually contributes to your life. It's something you would wish for all of your children. Relief is removing something uncomfortable that we often mistake for joy. So, for example, if you take off tight pants,
Yeah.
people might say, "Oh, that's so enjoyable. Take off my tight pants." No, that's relief.
Yeah. Yeah.
Joy would be going out for a walk and breathing in the fresh air and just feeling the sun on your face and taking a moment to take that in and notice how that feels. Again,
Yeah.
barring a trauma response that some people have conditioned.
Right.
Joy would be laughing with somebody that you care about and smiling and talking and connecting.
Mm.
That would be joy. Joy would be eating a delicious, healthy meal that fills your body up not only with the taste and the flavor, but nutrition.
Yeah.
Now, some people eat until they're stuffed because they want to keep going, and the way that they can relieve some of again get some relief is eating until they can't fit anymore in their body. Now, that's
Mm.
getting to more of a reactive pattern. That's no longer joyful. It's not
Right.
joyful to stuff yourself to the point that you're uncomfortable. So there's other patterns going on there. But you see how it can be confusing for people because some activities can provide joy. Like
Mm.
playing basketball could be joyful. But if
Mhm.
you're focused on winning and beating everybody else, all of a sudden now it shifts. So the same
Yeah.
action can be a joyful energy, or it could be sort of an anxiety or intensity or threat type of energy.
Right. Stressful. Moves into stress when you've got to win. It's not, not fun
Yeah,
anymore.
even stress, there's healthy types of stress and
Yeah.
stress that's harmful. I love certain types of stress. I love certain
Mm.
amounts of stress.
Hmm.
But when it starts getting in the way of your joy and living the life that you want, now it's no longer contributing. And that's where we can't make a certain blanket statement that this is healthy and this isn't. The same
Yeah.
action can be very health promoting for one person and harmful for another.
Exactly. As you just mentioned with the food, I mean, it could be beautiful, nutritious, delicious, Chef AJ cooked desserts, right? That are healthy. And you could enjoy them in the beginning, but if you overate them, then you are stressed and in pain, and it's no longer joyful. So this becomes very individual in our own lives and how we are handling all the things in our life. How you do one thing, it can be kind of a clue as to how your life is going on. All right, this is a good place to stop. We've covered so much ground today from Dr. Matt Letterman. I hope you're feeling as inspired and informed as I am. But this is just the beginning because we have part 2 coming up and we'll dive even deeper. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. If you've enjoyed this conversation so far, make sure to tune in to part 2, which I'll be dropping in a few more days. See you there. I'll be back in a few more days with another podcast. Until then, be well and aloha.